Hello, this is Abby.
Dear Abby, this is gonna be a long one.
Oh boy.
Dear Abbey, how do you tell the difference between a new exciting crush and a rebound?
Does it matter?
Dear Abby.
Dear Abbey.
Dear Abby.
Welcome to our little corner of the internet. This is the Dear Abby podcast. I hope you stay and hang out with us. See you in a sec. Hello, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dear Abby. Today, I feel like I have the flu. It does not feel good. Let me tell you. My body feels very achy and I feel cold. I feel really cold. Like my bones are cold, but then I get really hot really fast if I try to warm up. It's not very fun, but I will push through and fake it today for you guys. As your humble servant. We are officially in the holiday season and I'm very excited because I have lots of plans for these holidays. Not really, but I'm going on a Thanksgiving trip with my fiance's family, so that should be fun. And then obviously Christmas is just around the corner. But then the crazy part is once the holidays are over and it's January, that's only 1 month before I'm married. So a couple of weeks. And so I'm scared that this next couple of months will just fly by and I still need to do a lot for the wedding. So I'm a little bit nervous, but that's okay. I will figure it all out, I'm sure, hopefully. Oh, you know what? Don't mind me. The angle is just weird. Hold on. Okay, that should be better. My throat also feels a bit funky. I'm now realizing after talking for a second. So this might be a shorter episode today only because I don't want my throat to get worse because I don't want to use all of my sick hours because I have plans for those. I'm hoping that I just wake up and feel better because I'm going to take good care of my throat tonight and just relax and vibe. So I'm probably going to have to cut my podcast a little bit shorter than normal and appreciate that from you guys for being patient with that. So let's just kind of jump on in. I did my engagements. That was super fun. And I'm really excited to see those. I think they turned out okay. The negative part about that experience for me was I tried to do my hair a different way, but I wasn't obsessed with the way that it looked, but that's what I get for trying something new and I practiced it once before, but the thing with curly hair is if anything is different, then the whole entire look in your hair will dry. And if you do even if you blow out your hair, it'll be completely different if you have 1 ounce of different humidity or product or something in your hair. It did not turn out the way that I wanted and it was kind of too late to change it up, but I still really liked it and I felt pretty and Keaton looked super handsome. And so I'm excited to see how that turned out. There's also a hiccup in the wardrobe on Keaton's end. Chelsea styled us and she had sent a cream shirt and Keaton got a grayish, brownish, I don't even know, I think it was more gray shirt. And it was too late because we ordered a little bit late for him, so it got there like the day before. I had thought that maybe the plans had changed and she sent him a different color, but it wasn't, and so there's that thing too. But I think I could have, here's the thing, with stuff like that, I have 2 options when things start to go a little bit sideways or when things aren't exactly what I thought they would be, how I envisioned them in my head. And as much as I'm grateful for the vision that you have in your head and your imagination and your ability to have ideas and then create the idea that, you came up with, it can also be a downfall, and my downfall if I'm overly attached to the outcome of something. If I have, like, for example, if I have it one way in my head and then it actually turns out to be a little bit different, sometimes that's hard for me to accept and just be happy with. But lately, a lot of things have just been put into perspective for me lately. So I'm just grateful that everyone was there and Keaton and I had fun and we got silly with it and we did some cute, some romantic, some beachy vibes. So yeah, you really have 2 options in any situation that goes not according to plan. And obviously the first option is most likely the natural option that initially happens where you're annoyed, frustrated, almost angry. I felt kind of irritated at first and I felt like I needed to blame someone or something, but it was just kind of multiple miscommunications or just not double, triple checking. So it's like, what are you going to do? But yeah, the initial reaction is like, oh, I wanted this to be perfect. But it was good practice for the wedding because I chose choice number 2, which is, you know what, it was fun. We had fun and they're going to be beautiful. And I don't think we're going to care that much about the color of the shirt. I'm not like a photography nerd or anything like that, or a videography nerd, or a cinematic nerd. So I don't really care exactly what, I don't know. I just want it to be a cute picture of Keaton and I, and that's what we got. At least one good one. We took a lot of pictures, so hopefully there was one good one. Yeah, it was a good lesson and a good practice for the wedding day or the week of. And when things go not according to plan, it's fine. It is what it is. I really don't think I'll care unless it's something to do with like when I don't feel pretty, like when my hair's not drying correctly, and it's just, there's a certain frustration with curly hair that comes, which it's beautiful. And I love my curls. I love, love, love my curls. But it is very annoying that I have to be so specific with my routine and so specific with the amount of product and moisture and when I put the product in and how moisturized my hair is, if it should be damp, if it should be a little bit wet. And if it's not wet enough, it doesn't stick. If it's not dry enough, it doesn't stick or it gets frizzier. It's really frustrating when you try to do one thing with your hair and it works one day and then you do the same thing and it doesn't work. I think it's a very normal woman experience when you're trying to do your hair or your makeup and it's just not. I think your brain is just tricking you because how different can you look really? But sometimes you just don't feel pretty at all. Like you just don't feel pretty. And that's just kind of how I felt right before. I didn't really have time to just cry it out. So I just had to power through the whole time and kind of learn to release all of that during. And then after, I definitely had a good cry to release the frustrations and the feelings. But it was overall a great experience, and I don't think my hair looked terrible. I think it just didn't look how I wanted it to look. I think I'll love the pictures anyways. So that was my experience with our engagements. I feel like I'm in a fever dream right now. So it's nice living alone. It's nice being like by yourself so much, but at the same time, sometimes it can't be good for you. You know, I think I'm alone too much and I like it. I think that's the scary part. Okay. Well, that was the dub and the L. So dub is we did our engagements. It was fun. It was beautiful. I'm excited to see it. I'm very lucky, very blessed. The L was that my hair did not look exactly how I wanted it to look. And so I felt a little bit ugly for a little bit. And then my mood came back up, so I felt better about it. It's a roller coaster. It really is being a woman, and that's okay. I'm actually happier when I am more of a roller coaster than when I'm just super like manly, where I just am feeling good all the time. I actually don't want that. As weird as that might sound, when I am like that, I feel like this is nice, but I feel like I'm missing something, and maybe that's toxic. I don't know. I don't really care. Blah, blah. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I feel pretty terrible right now. So today I wanted to talk briefly about an experience that I have had lately of comparing myself to how I was when I was younger, or even to how I was mentally a couple years ago. And to clarify, I've just noticed lately that when my OCD gets really bad, or when I'm mentally not doing okay and I feel like emotionally just a lot of turmoil, sometimes I'll think back to how I used to confront recovery almost at the beginning, and I had more of an oomph to recover. I felt like I could actually be helped more, and you're just not as bogged down by years of recovery and still having to recover, you know? A part of it is just wishing that I was the same person how I was before my chronic OCD hit, or even the beginning of my OCD journey, because I had more oomph. I don't know how to explain it other than oomph. Like I had more grit. I had more energy towards it. And sometimes the energy just falls down to zero and you're just kind of like, what do I do now? Because I know everything about, I don't, but I know all of the normal things with OCD. I know how it tricks me, but I still fall for it. And I sometimes don't know what is what sometimes still. And I think that's just very helpless and hopeless feeling. I'll think back to, I wish I was as strong as I was at the beginning. And when I did these exposures and when I was new to this, I had more of a uplifted spirit. Sometimes it's like your soul just feels tired. Not even my brain is tired, but sometimes like my soul just needs, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes it just feels like your soul needs to be rejuvenated. I know my faith has a lot to do with that, and I think that's where you can get that source. But sometimes when you feel a little bit further from, God or whatever you believe, it can be really devastating and take a lot of patience to keep pushing through when you feel like you kind of have not a lot of energy left. Even though we're always stronger than we give ourselves credit for, and we're always stronger and we have more grit than we ever can comprehend, I think, because every time I think I'm at my end, I still push through, and then things get better, or I just keep pushing through, and I'm proud of myself for pushing through. But sometimes I do miss just almost like the innocence of when you first learned that you have a problem and you accept it and then you start to attack it. That energy I miss sometimes, because I think I felt closer to myself at some of those points. Or maybe I was just not aware of how much OCD was affecting my life. And so now that I do, it does feel very daunting, because it does feel like I have to kind of create a whole lot of new stuff. But when you have a very overactive brain, I just get confused, honestly, with my thoughts. And I think it's kind of like meta OCD type stuff where you don't know what's OCD, what's not, even though you kind of do, but you're also like, I don't know. And I've also been disassociating a lot. I was talking to my therapist on that, and she gave me a lot of grounding techniques, which I have only used a couple times this week, but it was very helpful. So yeah, I've just been thinking back and wishing that I had the same grit and that I was as strong as she was back then to get through what she did when her OCD was worse. But I realized when thinking and wishing this, that that's still me. Like, that's still me in there. I was the one that did that. I was the one that experienced that, and I was the one that had that grit that's still inside of me. That's not gone. I'm not just like a totally different person, even though I feel different. My brain feels different. My spirit feels different. My body even feels different. I feel like I'm pregnant. Like, that's how I hear people talk about when they get pregnant. Like, everything's just different. And so it's hard to find yourself in that. That's how I've been feeling with, I think, just this newness of recovering from OCD and feeling pretty normal sometimes, because sometimes I just feel normal and I can relax and just not worry about something, even though that feels not good still. Like, not worrying feels worse to me sometimes than worrying, because I feel like I'm missing out on something, or I feel like I'm being irresponsible, or like I don't care about anything. So it's just a lot of, like figuring out who you are. It was so helpful to remind myself that I am the one that was also there back in the day. That was also me. I have that strength in me still, and I will always have that strength in me, but sometimes it does feel so far away. So it's good to remember, but it's good to remember so you can remind yourself that you did that. And even if it was a long time ago or whatever, it was still you, and you did that. You went through that. You got through that. That's helping me kind of renew my energy, renew my spirit to be motivated to keep going. It's so weird with mental health, because the reality is I'm sitting on my bed, talking into a phone, looking at a camera, but internally I have like this whole world going on. It's a weird thing, isn't it? I think I need an emo day, which is basically just when I cry like for hours. I'm not kidding. Hours. I cry for hours. And I journal. I dance. I do a lot of somatic stuff. I do a lot of movement and a lot of meditation. And I try to do a little bit of meditation, breath work every day, but I'm talking, we're doing this pretty much most of the day. And it helps move through some of these big feelings and these big emotions and these thoughts. Could also feel like there's a whole world going on in my head, because I am feeling a little bit sick fluish, so I might just be having a bit of a fever dream while also talking to a camera, so I could be going a little bit crazy. Who knows? So I guess if you feel like you had your chance and now you're too tired or you have no more energy left, I feel ya. I understand that. And maybe you just need a day to rest. Just remember that that was still you that got through all of the other things that you've gone through. Be patient with yourself. I hope any of that made sense. If I ever made merch, I'd probably have that be the quote on the shirt is, I hope any of that made sense. Because I realize I say that. I know I say it a lot, okay? I know that. But because I do hope it made sense, obviously. Okay, we're going to do a Dear Abby and then we're going to wrap up. I do not feel great at all. I'm actually progressively getting worse the more that I speak. Okay, Dear Abby, I had a great idea for your podcast. Make an episode about Instagram accounts you follow and why. Influencers you... Oh, this is... I don't know if I should read this, but... Okay. Instagram accounts you follow and why. Influencers that you really like. Podcasts you always listen to, etc. I think it would be really cool. Also, I need some advice. Here we go. I dated a guy who treated me better than I've ever been treated in my life. We were best friends. Then his commitment issues, slight relationship OCD, became too much for him and he broke up with me. It's been 4 months. I've run into him a couple of times and it always felt like old times. I want to stop wanting him back. How do I do that? Okay, big question. Just stop. You know, this is a hard one because if he treated you nicely, it is harder to get over than when they're just an absolute a-hole to you, because then you actually would want to get back with them and it could possibly work out because he seems like a good guy. But at the same time, as much as relationship OCD is painful and exhausting and confusing, and I will always empathize with people who have relationship OCD, it still was his choice to break up. So even if it was almost a not conscious decision to break up because he felt like he had to, if it's been 4 months and he hasn't contacted back at all, then I would say just use that as, just take my word for it that if he wanted to talk to you again, he would. And just because it feels like old times doesn't mean that it should be anymore. It definitely doesn't mean that you need to be back with each other or that that means anything, because I mean, you were with them for a reason. Well, I think because he didn't contact you and he's not trying to get back with you, he doesn't want to get back with you. And if he does, he does kind of need to work on his OCD and have that not be something that gets in between you guys or his next relationship, because it totally can. So even if he was so wrapped up in his OCD that he broke up, even though he really wanted to be with you, you know, if that's your best case scenario, then I would definitely leave it to him to reach back out, because you don't want to push him to getting back into anything that he's not ready to get back into. So either way, hopefully that's helpful to think about, so that way it's easier to start to let go of him and let go of the idea. Because you're not in a relationship. It is the idea of what the relationship could be that's keeping you stuck, probably. But yeah, I think just as a rule, don't think about it anymore. And if you start to daydream about it, just remind yourself that's not the reality. The reality is you guys are not together and he's not reaching out to try to get back together, nor is he showing really interest. He's just being friendly when we bump into each other. And hopefully that helps you think right about it. And also, it is helpful to remind yourself that if someone wanted to really be with you, they would make it happen, and they would also work on their relationship OCD. But that's just coming from my perspective of, I was in a relationship with really horrible relationship OCD, but I knew that I loved Keaton and I wanted to work on this with him, and I wanted to work on my relationship anxiety and OCD. And so I feel like you do, when you really care and you're really serious about someone at that stage, you make it happen. And that's not probably very nice to hear, and I totally could be wrong. That's just my observation for what it's worth. But it is nice to be treated well. So you do deserve to be treated well. And now at least you know that they are capable of treating you well. That men are capable of treating you nicely. They just might break up with you, but They will treat you nice before that. You will find someone, if it's him, if it's not him, that treats you nicely and wants to be with you and will work on everything with you. Don't wait for anything else. Just move on with your life. If he comes crawling back, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But I think either way, just rid yourself of him. Don't let yourself daydream about it. Just put it in your rearview mirror. Well, good luck with that. That's it for today's episode, you guys. Sorry, it's a little bit shorter than normal, but thank you for listening anyways. And I will bring the energy next week. We have some fun episodes coming up that will be full length, full energy, full fit, full hair and makeup. And I'm very excited. So look forward to that. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you want to support the podcast, you can find me on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. And you can like, subscribe, comment on YouTube. You can leave a rating or review on Spotify and Apple. You can also comment on Spotify after the episode on how you liked it. If you have any ideas, you can message me on Instagram. Also, please send in your Dear Abbeys. Please send in your questions to the number in the description below. They can be serious or silly or whatever you want them to be. I always need your submissions, so thank you guys. Okay, have a good weekend. I don't think anything's happening this weekend, but have a good weekend. Love you. Bye.
우회전 taking a ride to journey 눈치 보면서 들어가 할 때 찾아 나머진 바빠 개설레임 바꾸는 사람들 시간만 지나